You've probably already felt the first wave. Gas prices are up about 25% since February. Jet fuel doubled. Diesel up more than 60%. Every analyst is pointing at the same thing. The Strait of Hormuz closed on February 28th. That strait is a 21-mile wide choke point between Iran and Oman. About 20% of the world's oil and about 20% of the world's liquefied natural gas moves through it every day. When it closed, oil prices spiked to $95 a barrel. But most people are asking a different question now. What about the electric bill? The answer is yes. And the reason most people don't know about it is because the connection runs through a part of the energy system they've never heard of. This is that story. For most of the 20th century, your electricity had almost nothing to do with the Middle East. The U.S. grid ran on coal, nuclear, and hydropower, all domestic, all insulated from foreign energy shocks. When OPEC cut oil supplies in 1973, it hit your gas tank. It barely touched your light switch. Even as natural gas became a major electricity fuel through the 1990s and 2000s, the U.S. imported essentially no natural gas by sea. Gas moved by pipeline. Canada to the north, Mexico to the south. The Middle East didn't matter. That insulation was one of the most underappreciated features of the American electricity system. Whatever happened overseas in oil markets, your electric bill was largely protected. That changed, quietly, starting about a decade ago. In 2016, the United States shipped its first cargo of liquefied natural gas overseas from the lower 48 states. The Sabine Pass terminal in Louisiana opened, and for the first time, American natural gas was being cooled to -260 degrees Fahrenheit, loaded onto specialized tankers, and sent to customers in Europe and Asia. It seemed like a novelty at the time. It is not a novelty anymore. By 2026, the United States is exporting 17.2 billion cubic feet of natural gas per day, more than any other country on Earth. We overtook Qatar. We overtook Australia. The U.S. is now the world's largest LNG exporter, and the global market for natural gas is as connected as the global market for oil. Here is why that matters for your electric bill. The same natural gas that fuels 40% of U.S. electricity generation also feeds those export terminals. It is the same commodity, the same supply chain, the same Henry Hub benchmark price. When overseas demand for U.S. LNG goes up, prices at home go up too. And overseas demand just went through the roof. Here is the chain of events. Before February 28th, Europe and Asia got a significant portion of their natural gas from Qatar, the UAE, and other Persian Gulf producers. Those cargoes moved through the Strait of Hormuz. When the strait closed, those cargoes stopped. Europe and Asia faced the same problem at the same time. Both regions turned to the only major LNG supplier with both the capacity and the open shipping lanes to fill the gap, the United States. U.S. LNG export volumes surged. The U.S. is on track for 17.2 billion cubic feet per day in 2026, up from 15.1 in 2025. And U.S. net crude oil and petroleum product exports hit a record 5.8 million barrels per day in April. More exports means tighter domestic supply. The EIA's June 2026 short-term energy outlook confirmed what the market was already signaling. Henry Hub natural gas prices, the benchmark that sets electricity prices across the country, are forecast to rise through 2027. Here is the honest accounting. Right now, in mid-2026, the effect on electricity bills is real but modest. The EIA's June forecast puts natural gas prices up about 2% year over year. That is not what doubled your gas prices. Those are oil products, and they respond faster to supply shocks. Electricity responds more slowly for two reasons. First, natural gas generators compete with coal, nuclear, wind, and solar on the grid. When gas gets more expensive, some generators shift. The EIA forecasts that solar generation will be up 19% this summer compared to last year, partially offsetting gas price pressure. Second, utility contracts and rate structures create a lag. Your bill won't reflect a spot price move for weeks or months. But here is what the EIA is actually forecasting for the next 18 months. If the strait stays closed longer than assumed, or if LNG export capacity grows faster than domestic supply, the effect gets meaningfully larger. The EIA's own numbers show gas prices in 2027 expected to rise 9% from current levels. The Middle East war is not just an oil story. Through LNG exports, it is now an electricity story too. Three things matter for whether this effect grows or shrinks. 1. When the Strait of Hormuz reopens. The EIA is currently assuming flows through the strait begin resuming sometime in the third quarter of 2026, this summer. If that holds, and Middle East LNG supply comes back online, the pressure on U.S. LNG exports eases. Gas prices stabilize. Your bill is protected. If the strait stays closed longer, the EIA's forecasts get revised upward. That happened between their February and June publications. It could happen again. 2. How fast U.S. LNG export capacity grows. Several new export terminals are under construction along the Gulf Coast. More capacity means the U.S. can export even more gas. But if production doesn't grow as fast as export capacity, domestic prices feel more of the pressure. 3. How much solar and wind displace gas on the grid. The EIA projects solar will hit 8% of U.S. electricity in 2026, up from 5% in 2024. Every megawatt-hour from a solar panel is one less megawatt-hour from a gas turbine. If solar build-out continues at this pace, it acts as a partial buffer against gas price increases. Here is the story in one line. America became the world's largest LNG exporter. That connected your electricity bill to Middle East geopolitics for the first time. The Strait of Hormuz closing activated that connection. The effect is building. The mainstream narrative right now focuses on gasoline and jet fuel because those effects were immediate and dramatic. The electricity story is slower and less obvious, which is exactly what this channel exists to explain. If you found this useful, there is a link to video 5 in the description that covers why the grid's increasing solar share is creating a different kind of vulnerability at the same time. Two things are true simultaneously. The grid is adding more renewables faster than ever, and it is more exposed to geopolitical shocks than it has ever been. That is the actual state of the American electricity system in 2026. Thanks for watching Grid Matters.